Welcome to a special episode of HME News in 10 sponsored by Brightree. Operational metrics like touch rates, completion rates, and staff efficiency remain important in resupply, but are they the right measures of success? In this episode, Sanam Mehta, Director of Product Management for SNAP Resupply at Brightree, discusses why providers should focus less on activity and more on outcomes, specifically helping patients stay on therapy. From creating seamless patient experiences to using AI to identify when intervention is needed, she shares her vision for a resupply model centered on therapy management rather than transaction management. Ultimately, she says, resupply isn't about replenishing supplies, it's about protecting therapy. Here's a word from our sponsor.
Brightree delivers a unified workflow native platform purpose-built for the full lifecycle of HME and DME operations. From intake and documentation through billing, reimbursement, and resupply, the platform supports complex revenue-critical workflows that demand precision, scalability, and control.
I'm Liz Beaulieu, and this is HME News in 10 from HME News.
Hi, Sanam. Thanks for joining us today on HME News in 10.
Thanks for having me, Liz.
So operational metrics are important in resupply, things like touch rates, completion rates, staff efficiency. But why should resupply move beyond those operational metrics?
Great question, Liz. Operation metrics are incredibly important because they tell us whether a resupply program is running efficiently. They help providers understand productivity, workflow performance, and whether their business can scale. But they're really the beginning of the conversation, not the end of it. The next question that we should be asking is, what are those operational improvements actually achieving? Let's just take the example of AI voice. We can measure how many calls were automated or how many staff hours were saved, and those are valuable operational metrics. But what is even more meaningful is when that automation helps more patients complete their resupply orders, shortens the time from order initiation to shipment, and ultimately gets supplies into patients' hands faster. That's when operational excellence starts translating into better patient outcomes. To me, that's where the industry is also heading. We're moving beyond measuring activity to measuring impact. My pitch to providers listening to this, keep your operational metrics. You need them to run the business day to day. But if that's all you're measuring, you're optimizing for throughput in a business that actually survives on trust, adherence, and long-term patient retention. The way I see it, the organizations that will lead the industry over the next few years are often the ones that are asking a bigger question. Are we making it easier for patients to stay on therapy? Because ultimately, automation isn't the goal, therapy continuity is.
That was a great overview. So let's drill down into what a successful resupply interaction looks like from the patient's perspective, not just those internal dashboards in front of you that you're looking at every day.
From a patient's perspective, the best resupply experience is almost invisible in my mind. That might sound counterintuitive, but it's exactly what we should be striving for. Patients shouldn't have to remember replacement schedules, wonder whether they are eligible, or spend time calling their provider. They already have enough to manage. The experience should simply feel easy. That is good for patients, but the way I see it is it's also good for the providers. Every routine interaction that happens seamlessly means one less phone call, one less manual follow-up, and one less administrative task for staff. Think about a long-time CPAP patient who's due for replacement supplies. The platform that works wonderfully is the one that recognizes they are eligible, reaches out at the right time, verifies what it needs to, and once the patient responds, the order just moves forward. The patient isn't thinking about paperwork or replacement schedules. They simply receive the supplies they need to stay on therapy. That's what great resupply should feel like. But the opposite is also true. If a patient quietly stops responding, that isn't just a missed order. It may be the first sign that something has changed. Maybe life got busy, maybe insurance changed, maybe therapy has become uncomfortable for them. Those are the moments where providers have an opportunity to intervene before a temporary disruption becomes a patient who's fallen off therapy. If I had to summarize it in one sentence, it would be this: the best resupply experience is the one that patient never has to think about because everything simply works.
We hear a lot about how important it is to tailor communication strategies to fit patient demographics and preferences. You're always hearing meet patients where they are. How does a provider take that one step further?
Meet patients where they are is great advice, but I think we often interpret it too narrowly. We tend to think of it as outreach channels. Should we text, email, or call? Those options do matter, but they're only part of that personalized experience. The bigger opportunity is understanding the context behind each patient. Think about 3 different patients. One is brand new to therapy and needs education and reassurance. Another has been successfully using therapy for years and simply appreciates convenient reminders. And then there's the third that has ignored last several outreach attempts because something about their therapy experience has changed. Sending all 3 patients the same message through different channels isn't really personalization. It's channel optimization. And so as product leaders, where the opportunity lies is in a much more intelligent, context-aware engagement. Using technology to help providers better understand each patient's situation, so every interaction feels more relevant, more timely, ultimately more helpful. When patients feel understood instead of processed, engagement is going to improve naturally, and they're going to continue on therapy.
You mentioned AI earlier on in our conversation. With AI tools, it's important to maintain humans in the loop. What does that actually look like, though, in resupply specifically, where AI is making decisions that affect whether a patient receives medical supplies?
I actually think that this is one of the most important questions that is happening in the healthcare technology right now. The goal isn't to replace people with AI. The goal is to help people make better decisions while reducing the administrative work that takes time away from patients. I think about resupply decisions in 3 categories. The first category is work that technology should handle automatically. Routine eligibility checks, straightforward outreach, standard order routing, those are highly repeatable processes. If the system can perform them accurately and consistently, automation improves both efficiency as well as the patient experience. The second category is where technology should assist people rather than replace them. Maybe documentation is incomplete, maybe payer requirements have changed, maybe something about the order doesn't match the patient's normal pattern. In those situations, technology should gather the information, provide the context, and present a recommendation. But really, a person is the one that's making the final decision. Then there's the third category where human involvement should always come first. Those conversations are clinical conversations, situations where a patient may be struggling with therapy, conversations that require empathy, judgment, or shared decision-making. Those aren't the problems that you want to automate. Those are actually opportunities for people to provide care. To me, that's what human in the loop really means. And automation should exist not for automation's sake, but should be there to remove repetitive administrative work so providers can spend more time on the moments where human expertise makes the greatest difference. That's especially important today when providers are expected to do much more with fewer resources. AI should allow experienced staff to spend less time processing routine orders and more time solving the complex problems that actually require their expertise. That's a better outcome for providers, and more importantly, it's a better experience for patients.
Let's look a little more forward. What does best-in-class resupply look like 2 or 3 years from now? What is the version of this that the best providers will be running?
Great question, Liz. I think about this a lot. I believe the next generation of resupply will look very different from what we've traditionally seen. Resupply will be moving from transaction management to therapy management. Today, many programs are designed around a series of transactions, determining eligibility, sending outreach, placing an order, and shipping supplies. Those steps are important, but they're only part of that patient's therapy journey. Over the next few years, I believe resupply will become much more proactive and personalized. Instead of every patient moving through that same workflow, technology will help providers tailor outreach and automate routine tasks based on the patient's need, communication preferences, and payer requirements. That allows care team to spend less time on administrative work and again, more time helping patients who need human support. I also think that we'll measure success differently. Operational efficiency will always matter, but the bigger questions will be, are patients staying engaged in therapy? Are we reducing interruptions in care? Are we making it easier for patients to succeed? We are already seeing what that looks like today, and I would want to take an example of AI voice capability that we've introduced in SNAP. Imagine a CPAP patient waking up in the middle of the night because their mask cushion has worn out and therapy has become uncomfortable. They shouldn't have to wait until the provider's office opens the next morning just to place a replacement order. With AI voice today, they can complete the reorder whenever the need arises, even at 2 a.m., and the order immediately enters the fulfillment workflow. In many cases, providers can begin processing those orders within an hour or two, helping patients get the supplies they need much sooner. What's been especially interesting is seeing when patients actually choose to engage. We are seeing resupply orders placed around the clock, with new orders coming in every 30 minutes throughout the day and night. That's a powerful reminder that patients live their lives outside of business hours. When we give them convenient, always available ways to manage their therapy, they're more likely to get the supplies they need without delaying care. That's why I'm so excited about where our industry is headed. We are moving beyond automation for automation's sake. We're using technology to remove friction, surface meaningful insights, and give care teams more time to focus on the people who need them most. Because ultimately, resupply isn't about replenishing supplies, it's about protecting therapy. If we do that well, patients are going to stay healthier, providers are going to build stronger businesses, and the entire healthcare ecosystem benefits.
Great info, great insights, Sanam. Thanks for joining us today on HME News in 10.
Thanks for having me, Liz.
And that's HME News in 10.